June 6, 1944, the day humanity stood on the edge of extinction. An empire of evil consumed Europe, and one man dreamed of ruling the world. But freedom did not die. A storm was coming. The greatest invasion in history was born. Young men prepared to walk into hell. Hell opened in the sky. The beaches became slaughterhouses. But heroes kept moving forward.
June 6, 1944. A single date, a single dawn, a single moment in history when the fate of the free world hung in the balance. It is a date forever carved into the memory of humanity, the day freedom began its long and bloody march toward the defeat of tyranny. Between 1939 and 1941, the forces of Adolf Hitler and his Nazi war machine tore across Europe with terrifying speed. Cities burned, nations fell, millions were enslaved or murdered, and still Hitler's ambition only grew stronger. The world was his goal, death was his instrument. Only one nation remained standing, a battered, exhausted, but unbroken. Britain held the line, refusing to surrender. Had Britain fallen, all of Europe would have been swallowed by the swastika. Yet within just 3 short years, something extraordinary happened. Britain, Canada, the United States, and dozens of other allied nations united as one unstoppable force, and in one daring, desperate strike, they drove a dagger into the heart of Hitler's dream. That dagger struck on the beaches of Normandy, June 1944. This is the story of Operation Overlord. This is the story of D-Day. Welcome to Wars of the World. On December 7, 1941, Germany's ally Japan launched a surprise attack on the United States in the Pacific. 4 days later, in defiance of his own generals, Hitler declared war on America. With that single decision, the industrial might, manpower, and economic power of the United States entered the European war. For the Allies, everything changed, but one massive question remained. How do you invade Fortress Europe? Both Stalin in Moscow and many American commanders demanded a second front in Western Europe as early as 1942. But British Prime Minister Winston Churchill and U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt urged caution. Allied forces were still locked in brutal combat against German and Italian armies in North Africa. Preparation was inadequate, intelligence incomplete, logistics fragile. An early invasion could end in catastrophe. Instead, a compromise was reached. In August 1942, Allied forces launched a large-scale raid against the French port of Dieppe. Primarily carried out by Canadian troops, Operation Jubilee was intended as a test. It became a nightmare. Within 6 hours, Allied forces were slaughtered on the beaches. Nearly 1,500 were killed. Thousands more were wounded or captured. Dieppe delivered a harsh truth. Storming Europe from the sea would be one of the most dangerous military operations ever attempted. But abandoning the idea was impossible. Meanwhile, in North Africa, British forces under Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery stopped German Field Marshal Erwin Rommel at El Alamein. With American troops landing in North Africa under Operation Torch, Axis forces were slowly crushed. By 1943, the Allies invaded Sicily and then Italy. Fascist dictator Benito Mussolini was overthrown. Germany now fought desperately on multiple fronts, and once again, attention turned west. 2 critical questions now dominated Allied planning. Who would command the invasion, and where would it strike? The answer to the first was controversial. The job went to Dwight D. Eisenhower. Not a battlefield legend, but a master organizer. A man capable of uniting egos, nations, and strategies into a single war machine. Without Eisenhower, D-Day would never have happened. As for location, logic pointed to Pas-de-Calais, the shortest route across the English Channel. Unfortunately, the Germans knew this too. Calais bristled with elite troops and heavy fortifications. A direct assault there would be a massacre. Instead, planners chose Normandy, unexpected, risky, imperfect, but possible. Hitler responded by ordering the construction of an immense defensive system stretching from Spain to Norway, the Atlantic Wall, thousands of concrete bunkers, millions of mines, endless obstacles. In 1943, command of these defenses was given to Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox. Rommel believed the war would be decided on the beaches. Only while the enemy is in the water, he said, can we stop them. He pushed to place tanks near the coastline. Hitler refused. German armored divisions were held inland, waiting for what they believed would be the main invasion at Calais. This mistake would prove fatal. The Allies trained relentlessly. One rehearsal, Operation Tiger, ended in disaster when German E-boats torpedoed American transports off the English coast. 749 Americans died. D-Day nearly collapsed before it began, but the operation continued. Intelligence became the silent battlefield. Thousands of reconnaissance flights photographed German positions. French resistance fighters reported troop movements. Special teams secretly surveyed beach depths at night. Even British civilians were asked to submit holiday photographs of French coastlines. At the same time, the Allies launched the greatest deception campaign in history. Operation Bodyguard, fake armies, inflatable tanks, false radio traffic, double agents, all designed to convince Germany the invasion would strike Calais. Hitler believed it. Right up to the moment Allied troops were already landing in Normandy. The plan was vast. Airborne troops would seize bridges and destroy artillery. 5 beaches would be assaulted: Utah, Omaha, Gold, Sword, Juno. Thousands of ships, thousands of aircraft, hundreds of thousands of men. The largest amphibious invasion ever attempted. Specialized vehicles were created: amphibious trucks, floating tanks, mine-clearing Shermans, Churchill AVRE, assault tanks firing massive bunker-busting bombs, and the Mulberry Harbors, artificial ports assembled at sea to supply the advancing armies. Everything was ready. Originally scheduled for June 5, 1944, bad weather forced a delay. Then a narrow window appeared. Eisenhower made the decision. The order went out. Go. As soldiers boarded ships, many believed they would never return. Some wrote final letters, some prayed, some simply stared into the darkness. Ahead of them lay machine guns, mines, artillery, and death. But also hope. Hope that if they succeeded, the war could finally be won. June 6, 1944, the longest day. The day ordinary men did extraordinary things. The day freedom stormed the beaches. The day that changed the world forever.